Hey everybody, it's Wednesday.
Hey.
It's Wednesday, so we back again. We talking about consistency. I don't know why my camera looking blurry today, but it is looking blurry. But y'all know who I am.
hmm
So it's Demasha
Yes.
K. And
Hi, my name is Dr. Sierra Davis of Holistic Soul Care. Glad to be here again.
yes, so y'all know like about 2 Wednesdays ago, we had started doing where we open up in prayer just to hone our own energy
Mhm.
and especially, but just to protect everybody else because you know we wrestle not against flesh and blood. Okay, so
Yes.
just that
Yes.
in general. So at this time, we're gonna go ahead. I'm gonna pray, and Dr. Sierra is going to do
hmm
the sound for us. So if this is not like if this is something that you're not into, you can step off for a few minutes and then you can come back
Yes.
on because it won't be that long. Okay. All right. So God, I pray that you would touch each person on this live as well as in the audience. I pray that they would gain understanding, peace, and strength. I
Yes.
pray that you would speak to their conscious mind, allowing them to make choices that will align with their destiny. I pray that you will move past, that they would move past the fear and create a positive habit that will promote their authentic person inside to shine. Ashe.
Amen. Shay. Beautiful. All right. Ashay. Thank you. That was beautiful.
Yes,
I'm just going to go and
ma'am.
share this link. Let's see here. Is my phone acting like it doesn't want to work all of a sudden? I'm just going to share this to Holistic Soul Care into my page.
Okay. Give us a one little minute.
One,
One.
my phone's been fine all day, and all of a sudden it just stuck here. So we're gonna flow with it. Okay, I think that should do it. Thank you all for your patience. That was a beautiful prayer that touched me. Thank you.
Welcome. So tonight we're talking about consistency, being consistent. And so I'm really gonna let Dr. Sierra take over because I've been on this I'm on this little walk. So
Okay.
and I was like, okay, we have a list of things that we are going to talk about. Like we have a plan, a whole plan of things that we're going to talk about. But it was like God told me, um, text Sierra and say this. And so I figured she was at work. I figured she was at work, and I was like, I know I'm probably messing with her. And then she was like, I'm gonna get back to you. So then she got back to me and she was like, this. So it was like right on target with something that I had already studied about. So it was like everything just came together. So we're talking about consistency
Amen.
tonight. So I'm letting her lead. I'm following. I am
Okay.
following tonight, and we just
Yes.
going. So I appreciate. Hello, everybody. I'm trying to get.
Hey.
So consistency.
Yes. Let me get my pen because when you say you're going to let me lead, you come out like a powerhouse. So I'm gonna take my notes as well. And so, yes, welcome to those in the chat. If you're new here, if you've been returning, we're glad you're here. And we're interactive. So as as you comment, we'll stop and integrate your comments. So thank you there. Also, I want to thank all of everyone who reached out to us. As you may or may not know, we are in the Florida area. And so I
Mhm.
received quite a bit of check-ins. And so I just want to thank you, whether you're here now or whether you're watching a replay, for the check-ins, because they are very, very important. So thank you for thinking of us, and
Definitely.
any efforts towards the people in Florida. So today is consistency. And boy, like, there's so much we can cover here. And I think the title consistency, or the concept, or the subject, is so important to anyone doing anything, whether it's personal, whether it's your business, whether it's just your daily schedule or routine with yourself. Consistency really can show up and be important in a variety of things. So what is consistency? What does it look like? We're going to talk about the definition of it. We're going to talk about why it's important in our lives. We're going to talk about barriers, things that can really get in the way of us being consistent in our life. And again, this can be across the board, whether it's personal, business, the way you run your home. So this can, consistency can show up in different ways. So we're going to talk about barriers, things that can really make it difficult for us. And then we are going to talk about successes,
Right.
strategies, ways that we can um, lead our lives where consistency can feel easier for us. And then
Right.
we'll have any takeaways. So that's kind of at least the thought. But if you know us, we kind of flow with it. So if we get to certain things, we will. If not, we just kind of flow. So let's start out. What is consistency? And I'll share some, and then I'll welcome Damasha and then anyone who's watching us to share and use the chat to tell us what it means to you. So I looked up a couple definitions. Of course, I'll share what it means to me. But consistency is the state or condition of always happening, something always happening or behaving in some sort of way. So the state or condition of always behaving in a sort of way, a logical coherence and accordance with the facts. So this is like presenting an argument or presenting something that lacks consistency, that lacks facts. And then the
Right.
one that I like that is pretty simple, it's the quality or fact of staying the same at different times. And I like that because it's being the same but in under different conditions. And that's the
Right.
one that I personally like the best, is that stability, the ability to still be consistent or still produce whatever you're doing, a product or a state of being, regardless of the change of circumstances or the change of feeling, that there's still a baseline of consistency regardless of changes. So
Right.
that's the one that I personally like the best as it relates to me, and trying to create some consistency in my life. So Damasha, what does consistency mean to you?
So this week I did a little different because I knew we were going to do a definition. So I just like
Mhm.
thought about the word consistency. I kind of made it, meditated on it a little bit, and then I came up with like focus, forward movement,
Mhm.
growth, displaying your willpower, standing out, setting standards for yourself. So basically, that's what it means to me, like on a personal level.
Mhm. Yes. So standards. What were some of the other ones you said again? I thought they were so good. I missed the first.
Willpower,
Mhm.
focus, forward movement, and growth.
Wow, I love that. So forward movement, growth, and focus. And so that's really leading us into kind of what is important, or what's needed in kind of having consistency in our lives. So
Right.
why is this important? Why is that focus Damasha talked about important? Why is that forward movement? Why is consistency really a thing? Like, why are we even talking about it? Um,
I know because
yes,
it
go ahead.
seems like such a basic subject, like people
Hmm.
like, oh, but when you really think about it, it's not, because consistency is like the cornerstone of everything that you want to do in your life. Like if you want to be in a solid relationship, or you want to be a solid friend, or you want to, I don't know, you might want to do something negative consistently. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying? So
right.
it's whatever it is that you want to do, you have to keep doing it, or you have to keep making room for it, or you have to keep blocking things out in order to meet that goal, because consistency is going to take you somewhere. If you consistently have bad behavior, then you know where it's going to take you. If you consistently have good behavior, you know where it's going to take you. But I think the big thing is that people have a hard time being consistent.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like we have to break down, what does consistency mean? Where is it at? And then, like, how the heck do we stay consistent? Because it's not
Exactly.
easy.
Exactly. Exactly. And why and it's important, like you said, if you want to be a good friend or a good, wife, husband, whatever the case might be, a good colleague, a good, employee, it's important. If we think about consistency, again, it's doing the same thing under different conditions, moving forward, like Damasha said, and focusing. Why is that important? Because it's hard to get your goals accomplished if you're doing different things at different times. If there's no consistency, like we were talking about, if there's no dependability, then kind of accomplishing your goals really becomes difficult because, like she said, there's no focus. So
Right.
if our goal is, for example, I don't know, to be in a relationship or to get a new job, but we're not doing anything consistently, meaning over and over again, regardless of how we feel or the circumstances, then our movement towards that goal becomes difficult or non existent. So if we're
Right.
saying, okay, I want to find a job or I want to be in a relationship, but there's no actively looking for a job, for example, or there's no networking and you're just sitting doing nothing day to day, and there's no consistent, what's the word, behavior that's going to lead up to it, because
Right.
that's really the foundation of it, is knowing what you want to do and then creating behaviors that lend itself towards that goal, then that job's not going to be had. And I think sometimes, like we talk about, why is it difficult, is I think sometimes we think that things are just going to fall in our laps or people are just going to come run to us with opportunities, but we
Right.
have to show those consistent behaviors in order, to really, increase the probability of those happening. But
Right.
consistency shows discipline, it shows commitment.
Definitely.
If we're not consistent with, showing up and doing what we need to do, other people will have a hard time depending upon us. And so if we
Right.
want to know people that say things but then our behavior isn't consistent with what we're saying, then our legitimacy becomes, it becomes difficult for to be believed if we
Right.
kind of are different during different situations.
Right,
Um,
right. I think,
yeah.
like, you said a big thing when you say consistency is discipline. You know what I'm saying? And I know discipline can be an area where it's kind of shaky, because a
Mm,
lot of times people are disciplined and then something happens, like life happens, because life does happen. And
mhm.
then that discipline kind of gets broken down a little bit, and they're like, oh, well, forget it. I'm done with it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not doing that no more because I couldn't stay focused on that. But I think what I want to display is that even with discipline being part of consistency, you have to know that life is going to happen. It's not about
Mhm,
the fall down. It's kind of like, it's about the get up. You could fall down 100 times trying to make it
mhm,
to your consistent goal, but
mhm,
if you fall and lay there, you're never going to make it. You know what I'm
yes.
saying? So,
Mhm,
like, discipline is like major, but just remember in the back of your mind, like,
mhm.
stuff happens. Life
Yep.
happens. It doesn't mean you have to stay there.
Mhm. And I love that. And that's where commitment comes in, because, every day we're not going to feel like we want to do whatever we have to do, get up, go to work, or whatever the case might be. But if you're
Right.
committed to it, hopefully your behavior will say, okay, like you said, Damasha, like, okay, yesterday wasn't a good day, but since I'm committed to that goal, let's try again. Let's start again.
Right.
Um, so that, that commitment, that desire to really get what you want, hopefully is so important to you that, and we'll talk about other things, ways to get on track later, but hopefully that's important enough to you where you get back on track and say, okay, well, brush myself off and move
Right.
on. And I
Right.
do think that, for people that have difficulty, like if we talk about barriers, sometimes that is that is a barrier,
Right.
is to not be so hard on ourselves, or get so frustrated that things aren't happening at the pace we want or the
Right.
way in which we envision it, that we just give up on consistency. Well, I'm not going to do that today, I'll put it off, and that consistency lacks in our schedule, and then
Right.
it never happens. So
Right. And like I
rest.
like how you said that commitment and then boundaries. You know what I'm saying? Like I think
Mm.
sometimes like we get a little bit confused when we make a commitment that that there are going to be, there are going to be things that kind of like block you or kind of like come in your way. Like before I had said that, like we wrestle not against flesh and blood, you know what I'm saying? But we have a spiritual battle. So you have to know when you are committed to your goal. And when I had prayed that people align with their destiny, you know what I'm saying? Like it was a reason behind that because like if you're saying like I want to be consistent and then you commit to a goal, but then something comes and then it knocks you down and then you get back up and then you not, but then you start trying to reason in your mind like what am I committed to? You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? And you have to know in the beginning when you set a consistent goal what you're committed to. Like
I
what
love
is it that
that.
you're committed
Yes,
to?
I like what you said from the beginning. I think that for me, that's something that keeps me going. Is thinking, okay, why did I do this in the first place? Like kind of going back, to, okay, what's the importance of this again? And I find out sometimes when I feel like I'm lacking in consistency, or I feel like, okay, I'm falling off the wagon. It's often because my vision, I've kind of gotten away from the vision, or I had the vision, but that underlying why I'm doing it,
Right.
um, I lose maybe track of that, the bigger picture of it, and get stuck
Right.
into those little things like, oh, this is what is involved. And I don't think big picture sometimes. I can think, like
Right.
small picture. And so I
That's
like what you
funny.
said about that.
That's funny you
Mm.
said big picture because when I was praying, it was like the only thing that kept coming to me was like big picture, like with consistency, like what's the big picture? And then you said exactly, you went back and said, like, okay, so we have to go back and say, like, okay, is this what I really want to do? Am
Yeah.
I committed to this? You have to ask yourself those questions in order to stay consistent.
Hmm.
Even with like business or life or whatever, at one time I was like, okay, I think I'm ready for a relationship. And
Uh-huh.
I consistently like, nah, I don't think I'm ready. I don't think,
Hmm.
what I'm saying, I don't think I'm in that space right now. I got to try to focus on what I need to focus on, you know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So I had to go back again, like, no, okay, do I want to start this business? No, I'm good. Do I want to take this venture? And I might
Hmm.
start it a little bit. I might feel like I'm committed because
Hmm.
sometimes you might feel like you're committed to something and you're consistent in it. But then when you get off track, you got to go back to that blueprint
Yeah.
again. Like, wait a minute
Hmm.
now. Was this what I wanted?
Right. I love that, going back to the blueprint. And I think there's so much shame with that. I mean, because I think
Mm,
there's a lot of messages out there that says, you need to know what's right the first time, which is, I mean, unrealistic to me. Or once you commit, you don't have permission to go evaluate.
right,
Because especially if you've been thinking about it over and over again, you finally made the decision. You should know, you gotta, finish it through. I don't want to say I've struggled, but I've really gone back and forth over the years about how I feel about that,
right,
about um sticking it through, and or understanding that sometimes you gotta know, when you gotta know, Muslim always says, one of my sayings I say a lot is, you gotta know when to hold and you gotta know when to fold.
right,
And
right,
so and I've come to the conclusion, I think where I've landed is that it really depends on the situation, because certain
right,
certain things, I've learned, do need to, be followed through, depending on what it is and how far I'm into it, and blah blah. Then there's some
right.
situations where it's like, you know what? No, it's
This is
time to
not
go.
what I
And I
want.
think that comes to what you're saying about allowing ourselves to reevaluate. Now, every time you reevaluate doesn't mean you give up every time you reevaluate. It just
Right.
allows yourself space to say, okay, let me go back to that thought of, am I ready to be in a relationship again? There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean that you go into one today and you go out one tomorrow and you back in
Right.
it 5 relationships in a week. It just means there's space to go back and say, okay, what do I want to do? And I think that's great.
Right.
Um,
And like you said, I think it comes with like a shame that when people set a goal and they're consistent in it for the moment, but then something happens and they're not consistent, they don't go back. They just give up. So like
mhm,
when you go back, you have to ask yourself, is this fear? Is this doubt? Is this control? Do I really
mhm,
want to do? You know what I'm saying? You have to ask
mhm,
yourself those things before you completely give up. I'm one of those people
mhm,
like, I was raised like when you start something, you finish it, no matter what it
mhm,
is. You start it, you finish it. I don't care. You finish it is you not. You know what I'm
mhm.
saying? And so,
Yep.
like, I was always like, oh, I got to finish it. Like I got to do this and I got to do that. And now I
Mhm.
find myself like, okay, I started that, but I've been making a blanket for a whole year. So,
Okay.
like
Yep.
I don't have time to do that. You know what I'm saying? Or
Mhm.
this is not fitting in my schedule. Or yeah, that was something that I wanted to do, but you know what I'm saying? And I'm okay now with going back instead of feeling that pressure on my
Mhm.
chest, like, oh, I gotta finish this, or this is what it might not have been. You have to always
Mhm.
ask yourself, is this fear that is making me want to quit this because I don't want people
Mhm.
to be looking at me strange, or,
Uh-huh.
is
That's
this
good.
doubt? Am I doubting myself? Do I really believe that I can be committed to this and that I can be consistent in this goal? Or is someone controlling you? Is someone telling you like, yeah, this is what you better do, this is how you gonna do it? What you have to ask
Mhm.
yourself, what's going on,
Mhm.
why you're not being consistent, because
Mhm.
most times when you search for that answer,
Mhm.
like within, it comes to you. But the key is being honest with yourself
Mm.
when you find out, or what you find out. If it's fear, okay, you got to get past that, so let's
Mhm.
go. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
If it's doubt in yourself, then you got to build up that courage and know, like, okay, I want to be consistent in having a positive life. You know what I'm saying? But wait, all my old friends gonna leave me. All the people that
Mhm.
I'm used to, they gonna move from. Okay, that's doubt. You gonna
Mhm.
get some new friends. If it's
Mhm.
control, just somebody telling you like you have to do this, or this is something that is good for you, and you just don't feel it in the inside. It's okay to walk
Mhm.
away.
Yeah, it
It's okay.
is. And so many times I find that when we reevaluate or reassess as it relates to, consistency and what we sign up for, that can be a big burden lifted off of people, when they finally allow themselves. Because sometimes I find that that feeling is there, even if you try to avoid it, it's there. So if you just acknowledge it, or to the practitioners watching, if you
Right.
give space and permission for people to actually go there, not that saying that they got to get off track, but to think about or dream about what that life would be, or that switch would be, it can really be a breath of fresh air just to talk about it, even if the shift doesn't happen. Because so
Right.
much energy can be placed on avoidance. I'm just going to avoid thinking
Mhm.
about it, and just one day after another, and the person getting tighter and tighter. And sometimes the change is needed, and sometimes they just needed to talk about it, and sometimes it's just strategizing how to stay on track, how to be consistent while still maintaining some sort of sanity. Because I find sometimes it's not about giving up or not being consistent, it's just learning how to be consistent in a way that is healing to me, where, I still
Right.
work towards my goals, but I learned how to do it in a way that's more healthy towards my
Right.
wellness. So
Like
sometimes it's not
creating
a,
balance.
yeah, creating balance.
Right.
Sometimes it's not a hold or fold, or yes or no. It's a and or it's a, how do I do that while still, making some adjustments. So
Right.
that's some
Right.
of the things I learned as well. So we kind of cover what are some of the boundaries to being consistent or stand on track, some of the pitfalls that we can get into that really makes
Mhm.
consistency difficult. I was thinking about my own life and my own challenges, because it does start with us,
Right.
whether, when people look at us or when we look at other speakers. I think, like you said, it starts with us thinking, okay, this is a topic. How does this relate to me?
Right.
And so I was thinking, one of the main difficulties for me with staying consistent is a combination. One is boredom. I've thought about it and I said, I wrote down, okay, and this for me is boredom.
Mm-hmm.
And if I get bored about a topic or something I'm doing, it's very easy for me to not be consistent. And
Okay.
so I've learned, okay, how can I manage this? Because everything I start, if I try to commit to it, I try to take a time in the beginning to think about it.
Right.
Not saying I continue to do it, but I try not to commit to anything that I can't follow through because I don't
Right.
like I don't like jumping ship. I don't like, you
Right.
know, um, I just try to be as consistent or dependable as possible. But I notice if things shift and I'm just bored, like there's no interest for me, things have done me down, then I find myself like, okay, what else? And I have so many different things that I want to do and so many
Right.
goals. Like I have just pages of just ideas, events. So I can easily, and this is a pitfall for me because shifting for me isn't always shifting to doing nothing. It's shifting to thinking about something else that's powerful and good. But that's
Right.
not always good because I can lose focus on the last good idea
Right. Right.
that was good. So I've learned that as well, that even though I have an idea, I can jot it down, but I don't have to develop it as a
Right.
also as a distraction from the last idea. I stay
Right.
focused on that. I spend some time on my other ideas and I let it sit for a minute, but I get back on track. So for me, it's boredom. And it's just along with that is just attention span. Like I have a good attention span, but when things get bored or I'm just not interested, it's just like I can easily be like, all right, up, that's on my to-do list. But let me look at this and
Right.
then and then I'll get back to it. And then it's the end of the day. And I haven't really, I
Haven't
didn't
really
spend more
focused on
time. Yeah. So that's just some of those things I'll start with. Just boredom, distractions, low attention span for certain
right.
things that just don't interest me. How about you? Anything?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So I'm pretty consistent because I'm pretty like focused, but I do get distracted. Distraction is a major thing for me, and it could be like distraction from a phone call. And then I just forget. Honestly, like I forget what I'm doing. Like sometimes, like walking in circles, like what was I doing? You know what I'm saying? Like I'm really supposed to be working on something. Um, so forgetfulness or schedule is a big thing for
Mm-hmm.
me because I have a basic schedule, like I have a full-time
Mm-hmm.
job and then I have the businesses, you know what I'm saying? So,
Mm-hmm.
and then I have to fit into those different compartments of being like a mom,
Mm-hmm.
or, um, like my other side of my life, like my
Mm-hmm.
spiritual side of my life. So people needing prayer or,
Uh-huh.
things like that. And so, which can be a little bit distracting, especially like when I have a consistent goal. So it makes it kind of like okay, I'm working on this goal, I'm going towards this direction, but then it's like all of this stuff is happening, like for example, I had set a goal yesterday. This is
Mm-hmm.
what I'm going to consistently on a Tuesday. Consistently on a Tuesday, I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
the gym after work, and then I'm making my jewelry because
Okay.
I'll sit there for hours and I'll make my jewelry after the gym, dinner's cooked, everything. Last night was like, it was like it was not I need, but it was like it was God time. That's all I can say. Like he had other plans for my day.
Uh-huh.
After the gym, because I went to the gym and it was like, oh, I was making excuses in my head why I couldn't go to the gym. I was like, oh, because my little son, he's still at flag football. My big son, I was like making all these excuses. So
Excuses.
it
Yeah.
was funny because my little son came home like right in the middle of me making that excuse in my head. He was knocking on the door. I was like, I don't know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna wear to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
It was like something sitting on my chair already. It was just like me
Mm-hmm.
making excuses. So I would
Mm-hmm.
have to say excuses is one of them too. Like
Yeah.
I
Yep.
make all these thousands of excuses in my head, like, okay, why I can't do something or why I can't be somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
but I fall and I get
Mm-hmm.
back up,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just
Mm-hmm.
it's it could be boredom, attention span. It could be, like I said, it could be just distractions. It could be
Mm-hmm.
excuses that you make for yourself. But you have to go back, like you said, and center yourself. Like go back to the beginning of why you committed to this, why you want to be consistent in this, what is the goal, and then see. Because like if you break it down, because if you break consistency down, like constantly, constantly. So when you're setting your goal, you have to know this is something that you are constantly going to be doing. And
Mm-hmm.
can you do that? And I
Mm-hmm.
think like we forget to ask ourselves, like, "Hey,
Mm-hmm.
can I do this? You know,
Mm-hmm.
can I do this? I have a
Mm-hmm.
thousand things I want to do. I'm like you, I have this whole book of like ideas.
Mm-hmm. I can believe it.
I got like all this stuff I want to do, but then it's like I'm doing this, then I get distracted. Somebody calls, the page might flip. Oh, I was working on this. No, I wasn't. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, no, I wasn't. No, I wasn't doing that.
Exactly.
Like, and I have to talk to myself like, Demasha, get right,
Yeah.
focus. It depending on like when I look at my phone, who it is, I might say, oh, I can't talk to you right now, and just put the phone down. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying?
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's like I feel moved, like, okay, this person needs me, so I'll answer. But other than that, because soon as I get out the phone, I forget what I was doing. I
Mm-hmm.
forget like what my consistent goal was for that moment. You know what I'm saying? And it's
Mm-hmm.
okay. I just go back. Just eventually go back. Eventually.
Yeah. And I wonder for you if that's because it seems like to me, and knowing you since I moved here, is that when you're doing something, you're so centered on it. Like it seems like you give it your undivided attention. So I
Mhm.
wonder too, for people like that, or people, that are, that when they're doing something, they're 100% and energetically, it takes so much that once you snap out of it, you gotta rebound yourself. So I
Hmm.
don't know. I think for me, I've learned, because I tend to be that way, especially if it's somebody and we're in a deep conversation, especially something spiritual where I have to tap out of my reality to something somewhere else. I
Right.
find that I have to learn how to, and one of the things you brought up, which is scheduling, I have to at least attempt, because I'm not always perfect with it, to try to plan my day or my activities in a way, like you basically was saying, being real with yourself,
Right.
that I don't plan things at times that I know I'm not my best, or like for example, I know I'm not my best too early in the morning. Now if I go to the schools and work with the kids, I'm at school by 7.
Right.
So that's an exception, but other than that, like if I'm working on something like a project, at, it, I can't do too early. I just don't work well that way. But I also know
Right.
I don't work well at night. Like in college, I was never, like, other than maybe a couple times, like person that worked throughout the night and all nighters. That just doesn't work for me. So
Right.
the extremes don't work. But somewhere
Right.
between 10 o'clock and 6 or 7,
You
you
good.
you know you get all of me. Yeah. But
Right.
before 10 o'clock or something, or after that, like I'm tapped out. And so I know myself now.
Ri- That's what I
And
was
so I
gonna say.
yeah,
Knowing
and so I
yourself.
think, like you said, you have to be real with yourself. Okay, I know. So for me, I know if someone needs to talk about something, unless it's an emergency, of course, there's
Right.
exceptions. But if I have to do something deep or a meeting or something, I know when I'm not going to be my best. So I
Right.
can't be consistent in a schedule, or doing something that's not consistent with the way I do myself, which, with my own personal kind of flow. it's a
Right.
it's a contradiction, and when I've done that, I'm not consistent, because it just doesn't work with my natural order order of
It doesn't
things.
work with who you are. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing to know too. Like is when you set a goal or something that you want to be consistent in, make sure it's something that you know yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like I know myself. I'm not going in the middle of the day is like if it's from 5 until or 4 until 6, I know those are not good times for me because I know
Mhm.
like those are times when the kids are coming
Yeah.
home or I'm picking them up and now I got to
Mhm.
cook dinner. You know what I'm saying? And so like they
Mhm.
talking to me and they going 1,000 miles an hour, or I got to
Yeah.
drive them to some kind of practice, or you know what I'm saying. So I know
Yeah.
like those are not good times for me. So I know I can't set anything at that
Mhm.
time. Now you could get me in the morning, early in the morning, 6 o'clock. I'm up. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
wow.
5:30,
Awesome.
I'm up. I'm ready. You
Wow.
know, but at that time it's the cutoff. then you can get me again after 8 o'clock. From 8 to 12, you got me. I'm
Oh,
up, you know. So
wow.
like
That's awesome.
I'm up early and then down late, but that's just the general, like most
Mhm.
moms at this time, like
Mhm.
this age, we up early because
Yeah.
we got one get up early, the other one get up late. You know, one of them might not
Okay.
go to sleep on time, so on and so on. But it's just like I know
Mhm.
what I can do. So you have to know your limits if you
Mhm.
want to be
Mhm.
consistent. You have to know
Mhm.
like I can do this and I can do that. And I'm not saying like know your limits as in doubt in yourself. I'm
Mhm.
saying know your limits as in know who you are
Yes.
in small steps, because like once you achieve one thing consistently, it could be something like a small goal and you consistently do that, you'll become more consistent in different
Mhm.
things. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I was trying to teach my boys the other day. I was like, you know, if you be consistent in coming home every day and reading for 20 minutes, then it won't be a big struggle, because it's a big struggle to have y'all come in here and
Mhm.
read for 20 minutes every day. So if you just
Mhm.
come in here and do that, and
Mhm.
then after that, you do your chores
Mhm.
consistently. And then after that, you take, you know, do whatever y'all gonna do as far as your sports. And then after that, you come home, you take a shower, and you get ready for the next day. Then you kind of like getting into a consistent routine,
Mhm.
and it becomes very easy. It doesn't seem so stressful, and I don't have to listen to you whine. But
Yeah,
you know
for
what I'm
sure.
saying? It just
Mhm.
becomes that way. So when you do one thing consistent, then the next thing you do, you're
Yeah.
gonna know I can do this. I can be
Mhm.
consistent in there, because consistency takes practice. I
It
know
does.
some people
Mhm.
don't think it does, but it does.
Mhm.
It takes practice. You have to block people out, block situations out,
Mhm.
know your limits. All of this stuff is like you have to have it on the
Yeah.
forefront of your mind in order to move forward with being consistent. You're not
Mhm.
just born consistent. I know people
No.
might say you are, but you're not just born being
Mm-mm.
consistent. It's a training. It's
Mhm.
part of your journey.
Mhm. Absolutely. I love that. Yes. It's not it, and I'm glad you said that because I think people can get hard on themselves. And I think that is, it's easy to look at other people and like, oh my gosh, they always, they always shown up on time and they always,
Right.
look the best and they always prepared. And it may be true, but best to believe that there's some structure that got to that point. There's some
Yes,
discipline, there's some consistency that that person is living out in order to present in that way. And
exactly.
I find, some things people lie about and present, but consistency when you're seeing it in action is a discipline thing. It's a routine, like you said, it's a practice. It does
Right.
not just happen.
Yeah.
Awesome. Mhm.
It's not like, well, I'm just consistent. You know
No,
what I'm saying?
mm-mm.
Like people will say, well, Demasha, how do you do such and such and such? And I'll be telling them like, I just really have to force myself sometimes to do certain stuff. Don't think because I
Mhm.
got up and I might look good and it might look all, but
Yeah.
in my head, I'm like, I really want to go back to bed. I don't know what I'm doing here. This is,
Mhm.
like I'm thinking like
Mhm.
in my mind, it's like going 100 miles an hour. So you can't even focus on other people when you're working on your
That's
consistency,
good
because you have to set a routine that's right for you. You
for
have to
you.
set the goal that's right for you. You have to set the knowledge that's right for you in order for you to be
That's
consistent.
good.
I think like people judge other people's consistency, like you said, showing up on time to
Mhm.
work. Well, some of us like to be 15 minutes early for stuff. My little
Mhm.
son, he don't like to be at school late. He want to be 15
Mhm.
minutes early, and if he not 15 minutes early, he is like
Wow.
so upset in the
Is
car
that
that
your
I
little Virgo?
yeah, no, that's the Capricorn. It's the
Okay.
Capricorn time. So he got to be early for everything. Like if he going to football
Yeah.
practice, if he going to basketball practice, he has to be there 15 minutes early. And he like pacing if I'm moving slow. You
Mm,
know what I'm
mm,
saying? So it's just who you are, what your
mhm,
capabilities are, what your abilities are, what you know. Be consistent
mhm.
in focus on you. Even when you're
Yes.
working with a team, because I know like someone's like, how do you be consistent when you're working with a team if the team not moving? You have to
Mm,
delegate jobs,
yes.
and then
Yes,
you have
that's
to
good.
relinquish control.
Yes,
Re-
then that's good. That's true. That's true.
I know, like everybody is not gonna be. Everybody's not gonna show up at 8 o'clock. I know I'm showing
Mhm,
up late. You know what I'm saying? I'm coming,
mhm,
but I'm showing up late. So you got to know. Okay, well we know the coming, but she's showing up late. You know what I'm
mhm,
saying? Sierra coming, she gonna show up about 5 minutes late. little Stacy them
Mhm.
coming, they gonna show up, whatever. You have to just
Yeah,
know
you got it.
people as individuals, and because
Mhm.
we're all different.
Mhm.
You know what I'm
And at
saying?
the same time, if it's a behavior that you don't like, whether it's lateness or whatever the case might be, understand that that can be changed. That you don't have to be the same person, because some people are like your son. On time is late, early is on time. So if
Right.
I'm on time, then I'm really late. So and I also see sometimes people wear that as a badge too, like, oh, I'm always late, or um I never agree with that topic, or and understand, so that can be a badge, and you can understand that things can change. Like, just because you're
Right.
older or you're younger doesn't mean that you can't work on whatever that goal is. You can't work on that consistency or showing up. I think a lot of what we're talking about goes back to our intention conversation. Like, what is your intention? Is your intention to just wake up and whenever you get there is when you get there, or is it to say, okay, this is my goal, to be on time? Now, it might not happen the first three times, but maybe
Right.
you're, instead of 30 minutes late, maybe you're 5 or 10 minutes late.
Right.
So it's progress, is
It's
is what I'm trying to say, is that consistency, if you have the intention, because if you don't, you might never get there. And I find that
right.
some people don't prioritize things because their intention, if they're being real with themselves or other people, was never to be there in the first place. So if we
The-
keep it real, maybe the intention wasn't to be there. So when I get there, and so your heart might really not want to be there, and then that might be another conversation as well. So I think a lot of this
exactly.
goes to intention.
I think consistency and attention, they go hand in hand along with goals. And I love
Mhm,
how you talked about age, because a lot of times people think just because I'm a certain age, oh, I can't change.
mhm,
I think, what is the
mhm.
saying? Like, you can't teach an old dog new tricks or something like
Yep.
that. But if you really want something, like you said, if it's part of your heart, you're going to want to be
Mhm,
consistent in that change. It only
mhm,
takes for you to do it. I teach my boys success begot success. If you're
mhm,
successful in one thing, you'll know you can be successful in another thing. If you take your journey slow and you don't
mhm,
watch anybody else's journey, you just
mhm.
focusing on your journey. If you take it slow, you'll start doing little consistent things. I want to be
Yeah.
on time to stuff. I really set out my heart to be on time. It's really in my heart. And I could be on time and I'm gonna sit in my car for another 30 minutes answering text messages and talking on the phone. And sometimes I'm like, nope, Demasha, you say you was gonna be at this event at 8 o'clock. You're gonna be there at
Mhm,
8 o'clock. So
mhm,
that means I'm gonna show up early and I'm not gonna talk to nobody. I'm not gonna text anybody. I'm
mhm,
sitting in the car and I'm gonna go in. So it doesn't matter how old you are. If
mhm.
you want to change something about yourself today and you 70 years old, you can change it. It's just
Yeah.
what you really want to do on the inside. And I love how you said, like, just being, if we're gonna be real, let's just be real. No, I don't want to be on time. No, you have to like,
Right. And
you
it
have to
takes the
fight
pressure
for
off for
yourself.
yourself. And it takes the pressure off for yourself. And one of the things that I also had here for barriers, and something I've learned, is it helps you stop overcommitting. I think that's a boundary. A
Mm,
barrier is, when people overcommit to too many projects, it makes it difficult to be consistent, because you're here, there, you're everywhere, and you said to 10 people you were going to do 10 different things.
right,
And then when it comes down to being consistent and showing up to everything that you've committed to, something's going to fall off. And so I think
right,
that goes to what you were saying about, being real. If you're being real with yourself or other people, that consistency is difficult for you because of how far stretched you are, perhaps it's time to say, okay, it's time to let something go, so that you can
right,
focus your time and energy on the things that have your passion or fit better in with your schedule.
right,
But that's a barrier as well, just overcommitment to
right,
things. Some of the other things I had is, you just touched on this, is low confidence, whether it's a low intention on, I really don't have the intention on doing that, being there, or just low confidence. I really don't think I can do that. I don't think I would do that well. And then if you
right,
add committing to something that you have low confidence in, you really can have a problem. because
Right.
you already committed, people are already expecting it, but then you don't have the belief that you can actually execute. So that's another one as well. Yes, Derek, stay in the course or path. You had talked about this low belief in yourself, your
Right.
ability to accomplish your goals. That's a barrier to stand on track. So you get started and then you stop because you just don't feel like, oh man, I wanted to write that book, or I wanted to, I don't know, speak at this conference. And then
Right.
your confidence low, and then that consistency dies off.
Right.
Um, or I talked about overcommitting. Then I was thinking about, I said, well, then it can go the opposite way, difficulty committing. So
Right.
commitment issues. So either you overcommit and you say you're doing everything, or you just don't commit to anything, which leads to
Right.
just being stalled. So
Right.
that's a barrier, because before you have anything to do to be consistent on, you're not, like they say, you can't focus.
Right.
So those are
Focus.
some of the ones that came to me as I thought about my own life, or difficulties I've had, and where I'm at now, things I'm still working on. I also put losing, like you had talked about in your definition, losing focus. And I put, and
Right.
this is the good and the bad. Like you said, people texting or calling, that's good. You connecting,
Right.
you're loving on people, praying for people. But I think sometimes, especially for us helpers, we have to realize that those good things can be a distraction from our consistency. And that can be
Right.
a cop out as well. Like, oh, well, I'm only doing this, so I'm only sending this recommendation. Well, maybe that, recommendation, or that, I don't know, whatever you're doing, that course you're teaching, maybe there's another time that can be done, not when you're supposed to be
Exactly.
consistent. So, and then scheduling, you had talked about that as well. One of the,
Right.
I've been having difficulties being consistent in my day, just feeling like I'm not getting enough done. Like the day gone is gone, but I'm not getting enough done that I need to
Right.
get done. And I looked and I was like, what is this? Like, and I had the time. That's the thing. So I'm like, sometimes I don't have time, but I've
Right.
had time. I'm not, the day's going, and I have no recollection of anything of substance that I've done.
Right. Right.
And then I thought,
Right.
and I said, you know what? It's because I've stopped utilizing my planner. And because my life isn't as hectic as it used to be, which thank God for that.
Right.
I was like, oh, okay, I don't really need my plan. I don't have to write in my like hourly where I'm teaching 10 courses and I'm counseling 10, 20 different
Right.
people on 30 different issues. So
Right.
I didn't need my planner. I'm laying out by the beach doing, just doing the day, relax.
You
But I
hanging
realized,
out.
okay, yes, but I'm like, okay, there's a balance here. Like,
Right.
although I'm not as busy, I still, for me, I need a planner to get done, even if it's more or less stressful things. I
Right.
still need to schedule my day so I'm productive,
That's how you
not
create
all
your
or nothing.
balance.
That's how
Right.
I create my balance, because
Hmm.
I can go from all or nothing. Like either I'm so busy or I'm just so chill, and I'm in my bathing suit at the pool working.
Right.
So I learned there has to be a happy medium, and for me, being a scheduler, a planner, I have to have a planner. So I was like, that's the missing link for me, is I'm not writing a to-do list. I'm just
Right.
flowing, and I'm so zen that zen ain't being productive on certain things.
And it can do that. Like
So
it can be
yeah.
like you go on vacation and then before you go on vacation, you're a workaholic. And then you go on vacation for like a week and then you just get totally knocked off that consistency pattern that you were on. So now you need tools to get you. So you have to know what tools you need as well to get you back to
Yes.
that consistent point. Like me, I'm a bullet point person in a sticky
Mhm.
note. So if I got my bullet points written down on my paper and my sticky notes, I'm gonna stay on the course. Now, if I
Uh-huh.
don't have that, I'm not staying on the course. I'm like at the beach with my feet in the sand, sitting there.
Yeah.
I'm like looking at my phone, trying to make sure that I'm interacting with people. You know what I'm saying? Whatever is happening, but I have to know that I need to go every day, even on the weekend. I know I have to write my bullet point as to even if I'm going to have fun. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
exactly.
Because like that's the only way for me to stay consistent. Because
Mhm.
if not, if I have a goal that I'm trying to meet, everything will distract me. Nope,
Yes.
I gotta. Oh, well, what I'm supposed to be doing right now? Okay, check it
Yes.
off. So you got to know what tools you need to bring you back on that consistent pattern. Because
Exactly. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, no, no. without knowing that, you just gonna be like all over the place. Keep
Yes.
the balance, and the only way to keep the
Hmm.
balance is know why you're being inconsistent or why you're
Yeah.
being consistent. Like you said, flip it. It can go both ways. To
Hmm.
have that understanding of knowing yourself. I can't commit
Hmm.
to this. It's okay to say no. It's okay not to be
Hmm.
able to commit to everything. And
Hmm.
then knowing that, like, I don't, if this is something that I know I can't could be consistent in after doing it for 2 months, and I know it's not doubt, fear, or control, I can say, you know what, I can't do this.
Hmm.
It's okay.
Yes. And it's okay, exactly. So that leads right into as we tie up, ending tips to stay on track. I'm not sure. I don't see the Facebook. It just says Facebook username.
Oh,
So
it said
I'm
I
not.
need my calendar to stay on task. Resources, yes, they
Yes,
do.
and that's why they're there. Exactly. Thank you. And it's nothing wrong with that. You know, like some people like could tell me like I use my phone. I'm not a person that really cares for. I don't talk on the phone a lot. My phone isn't really a big resource as it relates to just everyday things. So I'm not a person that can write stuff in my phone and stay on track other than my grocery list sometimes. So I
Right,
need a physical book. There's nothing wrong with that.
right.
Um, knowing yourself and knowing what you need to do. Clinton Fitzpatrick, this is a great topic. Our young people need to know how to set good goals and know they're always going to be barriers. Above all, never quit. Yes, I love that. There's
Yay, I
nothing wrong with
can't.
that. Yes. And setting good goals, practical goals. Yes.
I wish that this time, or if there is a man on there, like what are some things? Because I know like sometimes I'll tell a man, they're like, well, what can I do to stay on track? And I'll tell them like keep one of them little, I like them little kind of tablets in your pocket or something or somewhere. They like, I ain't keeping that, I can't keep up with that. But like it has to, women, we can stay on track with calendars and all of this different kind of stuff. But what are some things if somebody in the audience wants to enter that men can do to stay on
I love
track?
that.
Because it's a different, men think completely different than how
Hmm.
women think. And so they have their own little things that they do. But
Hmm.
if a man wants to give some examples, just to have it there as far as like,
That'd
what do
be
you do to
awesome.
stay on track? And I'm not talking about using your wife as your calendar.
I'm
Like, what
sure
do
that's
you
more
do?
for some. Yes, that's
What do
great.
you do
Any
to,
men in
what
the
I'm saying?
any men in the audience that want to put in, that would be awesome because we can share resource and it could be um some of us who could use the knowledge as well to because I'm always like, I might be filling my calendar today and then tomorrow I might want to try
Right.
something. So yes, please put it in the chat.
That
Um,
would be
so
great.
as we wait for them if they want to share some of the tips to stand on track, we covered a lot. Like we said, a planner or some sort of accountability resource,
Right.
like something that works for you. I mean, there's apps that send reminders. Now, sometimes if it's something important for
Right.
me, um, sometimes my planner, I got all sizes. So sometimes I take the little one.
Right.
But if it's something important, if I have a meeting I can't remember, I'll just set an alert in my phone, like for a certain time, where it's like it'll pop up and say, meeting with Damasha in 5 minutes, where I know
Hmm.
like I don't want to keep I don't want to miss it by chance that I don't look at my book for some reason
Right.
if I
Right.
know I have my phone with me. So accountability with a partner as well. So
Right.
resources, but people can be helpful as well. Of course, we don't
Right.
want to put burdens on people, things that they might not be willing or able to offer. But if
Right.
you have someone, a partner, a friend that can say, hey, I know you got that talk next week. How's your studying going? I know you got a book. I know you have whatever it is. How's that going for you?
Right.
How's your preparation? Can I help you? Just as a reminder, I know that's helpful for me because I have so much going on in my brain,
Right.
and or I'm thinking about so many different people or helping different people that sometimes I can lose focus. So that's helpful for me. Just like, oh, how's this going? Or so people can be accountability partners as well. Um, Yes, Sunset says this is interesting. Thank you. If you have any suggestions, please use the chat. So accountability, I think people call them accountability partners, can be
Right.
really helpful. People who are going to support you and and cheer you on or just send you a reminder, hey, how's things going? And understanding that there's no shame in asking other people, I need to stay on track. Can you send me a quick text or a call, just as a reminder? There's no
Right.
shame in that.
Right.
And then routines. I wrote routine, schedule, and plan.
Right.
We covered that already. Um, confidence. I wrote confidence increasers. We covered this in gosh, and I think everything we talked about, whether intention or
Right.
self love. So I wrote confidence increasers. These are things like affirmations, positive self talk,
Right.
affirmation cards. A lot of the stuff that we talked about. So sometimes it's not a person or it's your planner. You just need certain things to say to yourself, or
Right.
do to increase your confidence so that you stay
Mhm.
motivated. Um, Anything else? Any other thoughts that you have
I
that
think you
can help
said
you?
all of them, but I like that affirmation one. I need to write the affirmation. Demasha, you will be on time. Like
Yeah,
seriously, like
do
I'm
it.
the affirmation queen. So I
Okay,
never
yeah.
think to write like, okay, I'm going to be on time. Like if I
Hmm.
write something over and over again, I notice like I'll go ahead and execute it. You know what I'm saying? If I say I'm going
Okay.
to do whatever, I'm going to, just jotting down or whatever. But I think routine is big with me. Like I have to be on a routine to know like this is what I'm doing every day.
Hmm.
The only thing about it is like when my routine gets knocked off, I'm kind of like frustrated. You know what I'm saying? I'm like,
Hmm.
you know what I'm saying? So when you get into
Hmm.
that space to where you get kind of frustrated, if you're a
Hmm.
routine person like me, you just got to pick yourself up. You got to shake all of
Yeah.
that off. Hey,
Hi, Joanne.
you got to shake all of
Yes.
that off and you got to kind of like just get back into the groove of what it is you want to do or what it is you
Right.
need to do.
Right. And the way I do that is through my schedule. Because some, like I said, I can be doing all these different things that are different, going to run errands. Like before this, I had, go take the dogs to the vet to get their all of the exams and things like that. So I might
Mm,
have a lot of different things that are totally unrelated in one day, but because they're unrelated, that can lead me to feel scattered. And so going back to my schedule is where I can, Joanne, we were talking about consistency. So yeah, you can go back and watch the replay. We're just kind of summing up consistency and how to stay on
right,
track with being consistent. So yeah, so I fall back to my schedule. Okay, I had all this stuff go on. What am I supposed to do? And then I'll look at the time. Okay, how much time? And then I'll go back to my schedule. Okay, what needs to be crossed off? Um,
right.
in addition to that, prayer and meditation, I put that down
Mm,
as a way to stay on track. So if you're so scattered, if you're like, oh my gosh, I feel bad, maybe you feel shame, maybe go back to center yourself, like we talked about, a guided meditation on YouTube.
right.
There's different apps. I can't think of some of the apps right now. I know Calm has an app, but
I
there's
was gonna
a
say
ton.
calm, but we know that
Yeah.
one.
And then there's a lot of free ones where,
Right,
people have difficulty meditating on their own.
right,
You definitely talk about, yeah. So if you have trouble doing it on your own, put a video on YouTube and put in positive self-talk, affirmations, and
right,
let that guide you through it as well.
right,
But prayer is a good way to recenter yourself and say, okay, let me start again. Let me, take the pressure off myself and understand
right,
today's a new day. Tomorrow is a new day.
right.
So maybe today, some days I just feel like I got nothing done, but I have to say, okay, you know what? Today just was one of those days. Tomorrow, so I'll
Let's
schedule
get
my,
back on
I'll
it.
try to schedule my tomorrow tonight, which takes some of the
Exactly.
anxiety off. And then my last one I wrote is watching the company you keep, and whether that's energy, whether that's vibes, your company that you keep can either lend you to be more consistent or distract you from your consistency or
From
your
your
purpose
consistency.
in terms of what you want to do. So thinking
I love
about,
that.
are the people around you consistent? Are they on track? Are they, are they go-getters, or are they people that
Right,
slack, that don't do anything all day, that's just not motivated, don't have any
right,
goals? So kind of taking an inventory, like Demasha said earlier, of not just of yourself and your intentions, but what are the intentions around me? Because some people, their intention is to distract you so they have somebody to hang out with, or somebody
mhm,
so they ain't got to do nothing with,
right.
especially if they jealous, but we ain't got time for that.
Yeah,
So,
that's a whole nother conversation.
but
But
some people's
I
goal,
like
yes.
that. I do. I like that. I really like that. Like remembering that it's the company you keep. So you have to, hey, what is this person? You got to reevaluate your whole life sometime when you want to be consistent on
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is you're being consistent on. Like I said, some people have good consistent goals and some of them have goals that want to be bad. Whatever your goal is, you want to make sure like the who's around me, like what's going on around me. Because I'm telling you, when you have a, a major goal, it's going to be stuff you can't do. You're not going to be able to attend. You're not going to be able to. It's going to be a whole life transformation. That's why we have to
Mm-hmm.
stay focused, right, Joanne? We have to stay
Yes.
focused.
So true. So true. Awesome.
You
Well,
have
that's
any
what I
closing remarks, madam? Because y'all know I ain't gonna
just
hold y'all.
I just want to yes, I just want to thank everyone for showing up. If you came in late, that's fine. You can go over the replay and you can comment whether you want to comment hashtag replay and we can go in and correspond that way. Thank you for all, as I said, those who checked in on us and who consistently come in. And
Mhm.
our intention from the beginning has been to be consistent. And that's been feedback that I received is y'all are consistent and that being a motivator. So I thank Damasha for being my partner through this and her consistency and her accountability and helping me show up consistent so that we can present our, be our best self and present it. So I thank you, Damasha, for your commitment to me and your consistency. That's really been important and I appreciate that.
Thank you. I appreciate you for
Mhm.
doing this with me as well. And you being consistent because I'd be like, all right, what we finna do? You know how I'd be like, hey. Always the text like, hey girl, just be like, Marsha, I don't got time for this today.
And
But
sometimes I'm like,
like
"Woo! I wonder if Demasha gonna want me today. We meet tomorrow." So that's where you have that balance.
right, we have the balance, and so but I'm grateful for Dr. Sierra because we're the same person almost. We're different, but we're the same person when it comes to certain stuff.
Hmm.
Especially like this and studying, we kind of like know how to be independent. So you, like I said, you have to know what kind of team of people around you, and being that we're both pray and meditate on a consistent basis, then it's sometimes we don't even have to talk and we already know what's going on. Those
Hmm.
are amazing moments. So, but I
Yes.
appreciate everyone for coming on consistently. I really do
Yeah,
because we do have some very consistent people that
we
come all
do.
the time that watch the replays and inbox. So we definitely appreciate you.
Hmm.
And this, our intention is to just bring awareness. So
Hmm.
pretty soon we're going to start inviting guests and just be ready because you could be
Hmm.
one of those guests,
Yes. Yes.
Because y'all know I just tell people like, yeah, you gonna come on? Okay. So
Yeah.
but I
Hmm.
appreciate y'all. I'm not gonna hold y'all long. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all.
Yes,
And
for
good
sure.
night. Definitely good
Night.
night, y'all.